So my name's Neela and I'm a homeopath. But I've previously suffered with pretty bad postnatal depression. Most people who meet me now would not say that. Oh, don't seem like an anxious type or a depressive type. I'm bubbly, confident, articulate, funny, apparently. So when I've got two daughters, 11-year-old and a 6-year-old, and I did suffer with my first daughter for about 6 weeks. Pretty low, not getting much sleep, um, kind of standard new parent issues, really. But it was very odd for me to feel so out of control. As a lot of parents do, it is a big shock having your first child. It's kind of a one-way street. You never view life again in the same way. Everything is sort of tinged with a, oh my God, that could be my child. And me and my husband laugh about how we would say silly things like, oh, yeah, we'll just leave the baby with your parents and go backpacking around Thailand for 3 weeks. And it's just like we now look back at that and go, what were we thinking? It's just this is not going to happen. So those 6 weeks were a little bit disorientating and not brilliant. And then all of a sudden, someone just flicked a switch and said, "There you go, you're all back to normal now." And I was just like, "What was that? That was weird." And the fact that it happened so suddenly, and it felt like an internal switch, and obviously looking back now, it did feel it was very hormonal related. And it does take some time for obviously your hormones to come back after giving birth, and normally it's around the 12-week mark, but for me it started at the 6 weeks and it sort of got better. Um, excuse me. So that was the first time round. The second time round that we got pregnant, I wanted to try and prevent that happening. So we wrote an email. Me and my husband wrote an email to my close family, to my mum, my dad, my older sister and my younger sister, and my husband's family as well, saying that when the baby was born, we wanted 2 weeks alone with the baby so that I could bond with the baby, so that I felt like the mum, because the first time round I didn't. My mum moved in at my request the first time round for 4 weeks, but I felt like she was taking care of me and the baby, and I thought, well, hang on a minute, I'm the mum, I need to be taking care of my own baby. Um, it was all fine. I'm very close to my family. We've been a bit formal with this email, but we respect your wishes and we understand, and that's fine. Um, when my younger daughter was born, all hell broke loose. Um, my husband was taking over the communicating with the family because I was wanted to focus on me recovering and baby's just been born. Um, yeah, my older sister just kicked off big time. We've since sort of, she hasn't had a formal diagnosis, but me and my younger sister have now sort of come to the conclusion that she's paranoid schizophrenic and she needs help. But this was the easiest way to say it was just a big explosion. Okay, everything that I thought I knew exploded. My parents were looking after my older daughter at my request, taking her to school, etc. But they, after the birth, expressed, you know, this doesn't feel like our grandchild, and why are you doing this? Why are you keeping us away from seeing our grandchild? It was pretty awful. At its height, I was not eating, um, not taking care of myself. I wasn't washing. The girls were being taken care of 100%, but I was in a really low place. And for anyone who knows me, the fact that I wasn't eating, everyone's like, "You not eating? You eat every 5 minutes." I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Um, I did get to a point, I was having some postnatal counselling through the NHS, which wasn't brilliant, but the NHS, so. Um, and a very lovely midwife who was doing the counselling sort of said, "Well, um, if you want me to call your dad or someone," because I was very, very close to going to East Croydon Station and just putting the pram on one side and, jumping in front of the train, basically, because I genuinely felt that it would just be better if I wasn't there. She did call my dad, um, who turned into a bit of a hero throughout all of this. He recognised that I needed help. Um, the doctor also put me on medication, which I wasn't particularly happy about taking it, but it was a tool that I needed at the time, and I'm not taking it. I did come off it myself um, when I felt it was right. It was needed at the time, and he provided me with not necessarily emotional support, but it was the little things. You know, we'd go on a day trip and he'd bring a flask of hot water to heat, baby's bottle, or oh, the car needs taking for MOT. Shall I do that for you? So my dad's always been quite practical that way, but the family dynamics with my older sister and mum, he's always been kept out of the loop, and our new rule now is he's kept in the loop. I had some private counselling, so I was seeing two private counsellors. One was a family therapist, and one was an NLP and hypnotherapist lady who I call her my Friday lady because, funnily enough, I saw her on a Friday. Um, Her background was that she'd spent 20 years being a mental health nurse and then retrained to be an NLP and hypnotherapist. So NLP is neuro-linguistic programming for those who don't know. I saw them separately. Well, sorry, I say separately. Obviously, one on one day, one on a Friday, for about 18 months, 2 years. So it was a long journey. At the beginning, I thought, oh, good, I'll go and see someone and they'll fix me. No, very common error that people make with counselling. It's me. It was me that had to do the work. Coming home and bawling my eyes out, and this whole situation. It started off really small. The notes that I was making, or the exercises they were getting me to do, the CBT, that sort of thing, I would just leave them all in a big mess. And again, for people that know me, it's not OCD, it's CDO with me because it's in alphabetical order. I'm that organised. So for me to have something in a mess again, and I suddenly thought, actually, that is something I can do. I can organise my notes, you know. And I started to do that. I started to do the work, the exercises they were telling me, I kept a gratitude diary for 2 years, excuse me. So every day I would write down something positive that happened, even if that positive was I had a shower today, I put a load of washing on today, I did a bit of ironing today, and some days that was it. That was the only positive that I could see. At the end of each calendar year, I looked back and I reread those diaries and I thought, you know what? Wow, not only have I come such a long way, but I do a lot in a day. I was like writing pages of what I've done. Um, Slowly, they rebuilt me. I'm now version 2.0. I would pick up all these pieces that had exploded. I would pick each piece up mentally and go, do I still want this piece in my life? Is it still part of me? Yeah, that bit is. That's part of me. This other piece, do I still want this? Actually, no, I don't like that piece. I don't want to leave that. And I've now, after 37 years, I'm 42, but it took me 37 years to realise that it was an abusive and emotionally toxic relationship with my older sister. My younger sister, we went on a parallel journey. She doesn't live locally to me. She lives far away. And she also, unbeknownst to me, because we weren't speaking at the time, I was sorting myself out, um, she was also having counselling, and we sort of went on this parallel journey. When the time was right, we sort of came back together, and our bond has never been stronger. We're always like this anyway, but now it's even more so. And we never thought we'd get there. We never thought that we would be able to just pick up the phone and have that freedom without worrying about someone else. It's like living life in Technicolor. All the special occasions that were ruined before, there was always, treading on eggshells and, oh, what's she going to say, or how's she going to react? How are we going to manage her? We don't have to deal with any of that anymore. The only person still speaking to my older sister is my mum, and that is up to her. But I've made my decisions, my choices, my boundaries, and not only have they been respected, I am maintaining them, which I didn't have before. It's definitely given me a greater understanding of when people do suffer with mental illness. Um, I was judgmental before. I didn't really understand it, um, but it's the old adage of when it happens to you or someone close to you, you then start to understand and be more empathetic to that. A bit like becoming a parent, You don't really understand unless you are a parent, which sounds big-headed to say that, but it's the truth. Um, so I am very open about speaking about my journey, which not a lot of people are, but I feel that if I can share that and someone can either feel some connection or some empathy or think, oh, she might be able to help me, or she might be able to understand, or where can I get help? Um, that is what I would like, is that someone can access the help that they need. Um, because when I tell people, they're sort of like, wow, I never realized it was that bad. And I said, yeah, it was. It's not a place that I want to keep revisiting, but it's not who I am now. And I think it shows that there are, we're all capable of change. We're all capable of making small positive steps, and having that support um, is so important. And, if you had a broken leg, you know, you would go to the doctor, they would put it in a splint, they would help you. It's exactly the same. It's an old, cliche, but if you don't have the tools, you go to an expert. You go and say, actually, I need help. Who can help me? And finding the right counsellor is really important. I didn't particularly get on too well with the NHS counsellor, and I was lucky to be able to afford private counselling. I know that some charities, some mental health charities, do counselling, which my sister accessed. She wasn't able to pay for private counselling. She had a charity counsellor, but they helped her in a similar way. She found a support group for siblings with mental health issues. Um, there is resources out there. It's becoming more talked about, and the more we talk about the subject, the less of a taboo subject it is. So, thank you for listening, and that was my mental health journey.